Could you just tell me your full name and your ability, sir?
Sure. Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Freel. I'm from Grosse Ile, Michigan. I'm the Future Operations Officer for 5th Marine Regiment.
All right, and could you again explain the importance of command and control training for 5th Marines and basically our future operations?
Absolutely. Command and control training for combined arms operations is vastly different from command and control operations in stability operations. As you know, we've been involved in stability operations for the last 10 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. Those types of command and control operations for stability ops are focused on the populace, focused on key leaders, focused on the factors that drive the populace, factors that are really more focused on having the populace defeat the insurgency. Command and control of combined arms live fire operations, which is what we're doing here, is a bit more linear. It's a bit more focused on command and control of elements that are going to employ indirect fires, direct fires, air-delivered fires against enemy in fixed positions. So it's a little more focused on kinetic activity, whereas during stability operations, command and control is more focused on the non-kinetic fight. So we're out here. What we've realized over the last 10 years, certain skills have eroded. They just need to be brushed up a little bit. So we're out here at Desert Scimitar in a combined arms live fire exercise, and we're employing all the techniques, the tactics, techniques, and procedures of live fire combined arms.
All right, sir. And like you said, as we move away from point operations, counterinsurgency operations, why will exercises like Desert Scimitar be more important to us as a ground combat element and also as a air-ground task force?
Well, we'll always acknowledge that I think in the future we're going to be involved in counterinsurgency operations in the future. I think the enemies of the free world have now realized that an insurgency is a natural migration for an enemy force that's opposing a formidable force, a first-rate country like the United States military. So they're naturally going to migrate towards a counterinsurgency. But there are still portions of the world where we're going to have to establish a foothold before we can access the population, so to speak. To obtain that foothold, we're going to have to employ indirect fires, direct fires, integrate air support, integrate engineer operations to gain that foothold in that country, to root out the bad elements, so we can actually interact with the populace and ultimately get the populace to take the fight to the enemy for us.
And can you just explain a little bit like the difference between how we've trained in the past for counterinsurgency operations versus, like you said, the linear fight that we're trying to train for with Desert Scimitars?
Sure thing. Obviously, in a counterinsurgency stability operations, we'd come out to the desert, and out here at Twin Palms, they have an incredible setup with role players, local Southern Californians, actually from their host country, they actually come out and they actually establish roles leadership roles that kind of imitate or mimic what the roles you would find in the populace in countries such as Iraq or Afghanistan. So thousands of these role players that we interact with out here for stability operations training. Obviously, when you're conducting that type of training, you're focused on interacting with the populace, learning about the populace, and actually doing collections and intelligence on the populace, so you can ultimately find out what makes the populace tick. It's not all that kinetic. It's what they call non-kinetic activity. Combined arms live fire, where we're against a fixed enemy that's out in the open, or maybe even in a fixed position. You have to be able to actually close with, locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver. It's not really population centered. It's more linear. So.
And just last question, sir, kind of a curveball for you. Well, first of all, can you tell us which units you guys have under you, and then what kind of challenges have you seen, since this hasn't happened in basically 10, 12 years, what kind of challenges have you guys seen as far as controlling those units or any command and control issues?
That's a great question, Sergeant Lopez. 5th Marine Regiment, as we've come out here to Desert Scimitar, we've integrated our attachments. We have our air support liaison team, which we employ in country, even in stability operations, but typically under different circumstances. Fixed routing of aircraft, fixed routes for helicopters, for fixed wing, so it's not all that dynamic. In this Combined Arms Live Fire exercise, it's more dynamic. The Air Support Liaison Team, who works with the Regimental Air Officer, is required to actually, they have to deconflict gun target lines from aircraft, and it's a bit more challenging. So we've integrated them. Our engineer planners, we integrate our engineer planners in a stability operation. However, out here in Desert Scimitar, Combined Arms Live Fire training, we integrate our engineer planners to basically put in obstacles, to formulate an obstacle plan, link it in and actually synchronize it with indirect fire and direct fire. We take company level live fire plans and weave them on top of obstacle plans for defenses. We also employ the engineers in a breaching operations.
And that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the importance of Desert Scimitar or command and control, sir?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We came off a Steel Night in 2012, in November, December 2012, and we realized we needed to brush up on some of our Combined Arms Live Fire training. Command and control of live fire Combined Arms training had atrophied a little bit naturally as a function of stability operations. Steel Night was a pretty good wake-up call to us. So we needed a renewed emphasis on what we're doing out here. So what we did is we spent about 5 months planning, preparing. Division staff did a great job of setting out a plan of action and milestones for us to prepare to come out here. We did a Combined Arms staff trainer, we did a rehearsal of concept, and before that we did all the planning conferences and preparations to come out here. The Marines of 5th Marine Regiment have done an incredible job, and we put them under a tremendous strain to move this entire command post out here to command and control these multiple agencies, multiple units underneath 5th Marine Regiment, and I'm just so proud to have served with them. So.
All right, sir. First off, can you tell me your full name, rank, and your billet, sir?
Yeah, Major Scott A. Gehris. I'm the operations officer for 5th Marine Regiment.
All right, sir. And what's your hometown, sir?
Hometown is Kutztown, Pennsylvania.
All right, sir. So, first question, what is the role of 5th Marines in Exercise Desert Scimitar?
5th Marines' role in Desert Scimitar, we are one of the 2 regimental combat teams that are participating in this exercise. Desert Scimitar is a division level exercise. In order to exercise the division's command and control, we are all out here as the training aid for division. So we have small training cells, not the entire units out here from 5th Marines, in order to train on command and control.
1 second, sir. So could you explain the importance? I know that you guys are mostly focusing on command and control here, sir, over your subordinate units. What is the importance of command and control to the regiment, sir?
The importance of command and control as the regiment, we are the ones that control those battalions' movements. So it's key to have the command and control systems, both data and voice, in order to control those movements on their actions, on seizing objectives, on maneuvering through the battle space, and also reporting those movements and coordinations to division.
All right, sir. And which subordinate units do you guys have out here?
For 5th Marines, we have 2nd Battalion 5th Marines, who is organic to us, and we also have 1st Battalion 7th Marines. Those are both organic for 5th Marines, and then we have also had 1st Tanks, which was in a direct support role, and they just detached from us. We also have CLB 5 in a direct support role. And then for indirect fire capabilities, we have a fire support coordination center here within 5th Marine Regiment, and they are actual liaison officers from the 2nd Battalion 11th Marines, who is our DS firing battalion from 11th Marines.
All right, sir. And, you know, as we move away from counterinsurgency operations, as far as our training as Marines, why is an exercise like Desert Scimitar important for us?
The Marine Corps for the past 10 years has been in that counterinsurgency fight. We have gotten away from being expeditionary in our command and control. We have become reliant on stationary positions, robust data communications, heavy on intel analysts and the intel analyzation piece, because that is key in counterinsurgency warfare. In the kinetic fight, we have to be expeditionary. We have to be able to get up and move quickly and still maintain that command and control. So for the past 10 years, we've gotten away from that. These exercises, Desert Scimitar, Steel Knight, the two major division exercises, will get the Marine Corps back to its roots in being expeditionary for that future fight.
And could you just talk a little bit about how different it was training for counterinsurgency operations versus traditional military?
In the command and control realm, the difference in counterinsurgency and what we're fighting for now here with Desert Scimitar and the major exercises that we're planning is in a counterinsurgency fight, the tempo is very slow. We need robust communications in order to do what I talked about before, which is that intel analysts, or analyzing all the data that comes in. For the kinetic fight, not as reliant on all those systems being able to pick up and move.
Alright, sir. And what are we, with a more kinetic fight, more linear fight, what are the troops more reliant on as opposed to?
Yeah, right now we're starting to rely more on voice communications. We're actually going to displace here from the main COC, which has data communications, and we're going to push out on a jump, which is a smaller command and control node that will go forward and control the fight, and we'll rely totally on voice communications and not data communications.
So having a smaller, I guess, like a mobile jump COC, is that something that during a linear fight that we're more reliant on?
We're absolutely more reliant on the voice communications and the ability to be more mobile across the battle space and still maintain that command and control. In the coin fight, we train for static positions, and we could reach out with our data communications to those units without having to move any type of small mobile command post.
Right, sir. And last question, sir. How have your Marines performed during the Desert Scimitar?
The Marines from 5th Marines and the battalions that have been attached to us have performed very well, considering we haven't done these types of exercises, focusing on the kinetic fight over about the past 10 years. Come in, we've developed our standard operating procedures. The Marines have assumed those roles that they did 10 years ago. So it's been very effective and great training.